What's going on? Talking with Tim. My name Ditty Broker, producer coming out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm originally from the Bronx. I moved to Bridgeport at about 14 years old. Since then, I've been out here and got to meet a couple people. Went to school to Bullard, and I wasn't even doing music yet. It wasn't until I was about 20, 21 years old that I decided to take the music route. And from there, started doing music when I was at school, talking to people about it, letting people hear my beats. Like, them shits was trash when I first started. Like, I'd be like, yo, hear my beat. And they'll be like, yo, this is kind of cool. I knew they was lying, but fast forward, I never stopped. Like, I just kept grinding. There was a situation where I had to go back to the Bronx for a little bit, but I came back out here. I think it was late 2018. And then I've been out here. I've been rocking out here ever since. But I do travel a lot, but primarily I be in Bridgeport. So I worked with a couple mainstream. I was thankful to start working with famous people from the jump. I think I was like 24. Like, I met Jadakiss' cousin Brillo. That's my bro. I met him through Ace and Mar. I can't forget them. Those are my brothers too. And then they introduced me to Brillo, who was linked in with D, one of the Rough Rider CEOs, like D&Y. So D, at first, you gotta get a feel for somebody. So I could tell that he was trying to get a feel of what type of kid is this guy? And from there, played him some beats. I think it was a track, Find a Way, that Brillo and Mar had. That D took a liking for. So from there, I started working with D. He took me under his wing. He introduced me to his nephew, Swiss. I remember that day, that shit was crazy. I remember him opening up the door. He was like, what's going on? I heard you got the heat. I'm like, oh, crap. This nigga know who I am. From there, I ain't really get to play much for him that night. He was busy that night. But just for him to even hear one and him to fuck with it, that was cool. And then me working with Brillo, Brillo would show me some shit oh, yo, this is what Swiss think of this track that we did. And he was really fucking with it. So from early when I started doing it. And then also, I remember it was a situation, I linked up with local artists out here, Dose, when I first started too. We knew the same people. I ain't know them at the time, but we knew the same people. And then we got to know each other through the music. I did a cypher that he was on, and then we linked up with the music shit, and niggas was paying attention. Niggas was fucking with his shit. People would hit me, they'd be like, yo, them beats fire. So the shit worked. So I remember one night it was a little award show. We both won an award that night. And then he told me, he was like, yo, you heard of the baby? I'm like, nah, who that? He's like, yo, he kind of popping. We about to get a feature with him. I'm like, oh, all right. At the time, I don't know who the nigga is. You feel me? Now you fast forward, that's one of the biggest artists out here. But also, with the Brillo and D situation, I got to lock in with a lot of legends, Beanie Siegel, Vado. I got to meet these niggas too. And I just started, so niggas is telling me, yo, your shit nice. I'm like, for real? You know what I'm saying? So, because at first, I doubt myself a little bit. I'm still learning. I started in my 20s. A lot of people start this shit when they young, but started in my 20s, I was a little hesitant when it came to showing people shit, but then after a while, I grown to just do better, and now at that point, I'm like, nah, I know this nigga gonna like my shit. And now, I got some shit with Don Q about to drop. I've linked up with Fat Boy, that's my guy. I met Jadakiss a couple times. I haven't gotten him on the track. I've gotten a lot of people to tell me, we're gonna get him for a feature, B-Love, I've heard some talk about B-Love. I'm just waiting to hear it. I'm just waiting to hear it. I got some unreleased stuff with a lot of famous artists too. It wasn't even able to put out, or it just never got put out. Thankfully, I've been making my way, been just staying consistent, and I got the pleasure to work with a lot of celebrities. What people have mistaken, they think that once you lock something big in, you're supposed to just make mad bread off of that. But that's not really the case, and that's not how I see it. How I see it is that when you make a big move and it look good, you help that to improve your brand. So it puts you in position to make more money, rather than, let's say you get a placement with a big artist, you say some shit oh, I want 5 bands. They might pay you that 5 bands because they really like the song, but that don't mean they gonna fuck with you. Because there's another young nigga that do the same shit you do, probably better, and they gonna settle for $300. And they gonna be like, you know what, we gonna fuck with him. It's all about how you negotiate your relationship with the artist, and just always put your brand first. Like, don't think about the money. Like, the money gonna come. If you got a good brand, you're all set. That's what it is. I feel like how people have it confused with rap or music in general. They want the bag first, like, but if you put that work in to make your brand strong, like, the money gonna come. Like, it's gonna be undeniable, because now your brand is strong on its own. And that go for any field, that music, anything. I know I gotta do it. I just put it in my head, I gotta get at least one done. Gotta get at least two done. Because I know if I put that in my head and I keep doing it, then the consistency gonna pay off. Like, I try my best to stay consistent with everything that I do. Everything I got going on, I try to keep consistent, because I noticed that, like, it's never about you being the best. It's about who is the most consistent. Like, because the person that got more material out, the person making more moves is gonna outshine that person that's more talented, but they don't got nothing going for them. Consistency is what it's all about. I just stay working. Like, I got the YouTube. I got a partnership with a A&R team that works with labels. I got my little relationships with, like, popular artists. Like, I still got a relationship with D, Brillo, and them, Ace. I'm always trying to put my brand, make my brand strong. Whatever it takes to make sure my brand is up to par, because once that brand is strong enough, then that's when the labels start calling. I already had situations where I could have signed something here, something there, like, but it's like, does it work for me? Is it the best option? Probably not. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm working on, just making sure the brand's strong. You gotta make sure that you get outside. You can't expect to make it if you just inside. Like, you're not meeting nobody. Like, nobody know who you are. Like, you gotta get outside and talk. If you want to make it in this type of game, you gotta speak up. Like, I tell everybody around me, 'cause I want everybody to win. Like, I tell them, like, 'cause they see what worked for me, and they like, oh yeah, you got it going on. I'm like, man, I ain't do shit yet. Like, you feel me? Like, but to get to where I'm at, you gotta talk. Don't be afraid. Don't be a fan. You know what I'm saying? Niggas don't like fans. Like, look who I'm with. Like, people don't like that shit. Like, you feel me? But just make your presence known. That's it. Like, that's all you can do. Like, at the end of the day, for everything, your brand. Like, your brand's important. Know when you can do stuff for money, and know when it's a big opportunity that, like, oh, if I just do this, then this will improve my brand, and I'm gonna get more money down the line. If you're looking for beats, anything like that, like, you can search on YouTube, Google, Ditty Broker, social media, all the same. Just tap in, engineering, tap in. I do all that. Like I said, coming for the world. But yeah.